We're going to use a soft hammer to add some pressure to the bearing cassette to rotate the bearing just like this. Welcome back to the Parapublic YouTube channel. Today's video, we're going to be running you through some of those hard to explain questions that you guys have been asking in the comment section. We really appreciate all that feedback we've been getting and all the likes for the videos, all the shares, everybody that's subscribed and turned on those pesky notifications. So thank you. Now on to today's video. So the first question we had was about the MXQ wheel set from the Tony Kart Group. Now these wheels have been out for a few years and they have not really penetrated the market as much as the all-conquering MXC wheel. It's a fantastic rim and everybody seems to gravitate towards it over these, but these are a great alternative. Now as you can see, the profile or the silhouette of these two rims are almost identical, this being the MXQ and this being your standard MXJ magnesium wheel. And as you can see, there's a small difference in the profiles here in the center where they bolt to your rims. Also worth a mention is that here on the MXQ, we don't have a raised section with a beadlock screw, which is what you'd see on the MXL rim. So we've got a little thicker wall section here on the MXQ rim. These high quality magnesium wheels are awesome, especially in the summer months here in southeast Queensland. If you'd like to see a more in-depth video explanation of the Tony Kart rims, we do have a video on that and you can click that link in the description below or up here on the screen. So the next question you guys were asking a lot is how to change the rear axle bearings. So the first thing you're going to do to remove your rear axle bearings or change them out for some new ones is you've got to remove the cassettes from the go-kart. Now to do this, you'll need to remove the axle as well, generally speaking. And if you need to see that, we do have videos on how to remove axles and install them, and also remove these cassettes from the go-kart. And you can click that link in the description below. But for everybody else following along at home, I'm going to give you a quick demonstration on the easy way to get the bearings out of the cassettes. So the first thing you're going to want to do is undo this little screw that sort of pinches down on the bearing. That's just a little Allen key. As you can see, that screw here operates on this little void here, which puts a bit of clamping pressure onto the outside of the bearing and stops it from rotating once it's in position. So now simply insert the bearing onto the axle, and with the axle on something soft, like this bit of cardboard or some carpet, we're going to use a soft hammer to add some pressure to the bearing cassette to rotate the bearing just like this. Now that we've got the bearing moved in the cassette, we can rotate it so it's at 90 degrees, and then we can spin it inside the housing all the way over to here where there's a relief for the bearing to come out. Now to install a new bearing, you simply get your bearing, put it back through that relief, rotate the bearing inside the cassette, and then you can push it back into the housing. Now you can see here it's getting a bit jammed. So simply reinstall the bearing onto the axle. Now they can jam up easy, so just rock them slowly until you feel that the bearing's on the axle fully. And then you can get your soft hammer again and just gently tap the bearing back home in its cassette. So now that we've installed the new bearings into the cassettes, we're ready to install these back into the go-kart, but then you've got to remember to line the bearings up using the axle so they're looking at each other perfectly, because if there's a misalignment in the bearings inside the cassette, the axle is going to bind up when you try to hit it back through, and it's going to make changing axles a real problem. And if you don't know how to do that, we've covered that in another video and you can click that link in the description below. The next question that we get asked quite a lot is how to clean an air filter. Now we do cover this in our Racing Rituals tutorial series, so if you do want a really in-depth explanation of how to do this and many other things, you should go ahead and click on that link in the description below and go and check it out. But for now, the easy way to remove these is to use your thumb, push the air filter down like so, and then you can just pull the dirty air filter out of the airbox. As you can see, this one's got heaps of oil and dirt, so it's well overdue for a clean. So to clean your air filter, you need some hot soapy water, and we're simply just going to put the air filter in and then sponge it out. Now you can leave this to soak overnight, but basically we want the hot soap to break all the oil and gunk down out of the filter. And you can sort of see how much sort of dirt and stuff is getting out of the filter now into the water. So you can leave it soak overnight, and then once it's all finished, you need to dispose of the water in an environmentally safe way. Squeeze any excess water out of the air filter. Now that we've washed out all the dirt and oil out of the air filter, we're ready to leave it overnight so it can dry on some old rags. Now with your air filter all clean and dry, it's time to spray on some air filter oil. This is from Maxima. You can buy that from any reputable go-kart store. And simply shake up the can and give it a couple of light coats. The oil helps catch any dust in the air, and the filter blocks out all the big particles. Now that the air filter has been cleaned, dried and re-oiled, you can reuse it, or you can put it in a bag, seal it up and keep it as a spare. Another thing we get asked a lot about is how to customize the car. So one of the first things I like to do when I've got myself all set up and I've got the right size seat, I generally buy them a little bit bigger so that I can get some seat foam and stick it in. Now this stuff has got a sticky back, but if you do ever need to remove it, it pretty much destroys itself. So put it in with some race tape over the top. You can put the seat pads here on the back if you want a little bit of back cushioning. Another one is if you're slipping forward under brakes, is to put some seat foam here in front of or underneath your legs, and that will stop you from riding up in the seat under brakes and over all the bumps and stuff. Now with this steering bush on the Tony Kart, it's got 4 different positions, so you can change the angle of the steering shaft for the driver to move the steering shaft further away or closer to the driver. And also too, you can get yourself an angled steering boss. These used to be an optional extra, now they come standard on the new Tony Karts, and it just helps angle the steering wheel a little bit towards the driver. Also, another great feature of these karts is the heel rest. Now we have covered this in other videos, yes, but also too for customizing to make it the most comfortable car in the world to drive for yourself. Get these heel stoppers in the right spot so that you can really push hard here and keep your heels locked in, keep your hips locked back in the seat. That's really critical. And also too, on the Tony Kart, you can adjust the pedals here so you can raise or lower the pedal. And obviously we have the adjustment screws as well. So thanks for all those great questions on the internet. If you do have a question about go-karting and you're having a few problems, leave it in the comments section below and we'll do our best to answer your question for you. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.